Welcome to another Infographic Instant with Brian Michael. In this episode, we're going to be looking at where to locate a corporate headquarters in emerging markets. Many of you are familiar with the old corporate centers: New York, London, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Tokyo. Those used to be the crossroads for international commerce in the last decade or two. Yet, in the upcoming decades, we know that the center of economic gravity is shifting away from what we now know as the developed markets and toward the emerging markets. So there's lots of talk about which countries and which cities might represent these new economic centers of commerce and industry. However, much of this talk has not been backed up by data. What do the data suggest, and where do the data suggest will be these new centers? Where can companies operating across borders locate their corporate headquarters and their regional branch offices in order to take advantage of commercial opportunities around the world? We answer this question in this infographic. The methodology that we use for this infographic basically looks at a combination of different factors in order to assess which city provides the best platform for corporate headquarters. As you see in this infographic on the footnote, we used factor analysis to look at each metropolitan area's air travel connectivity, its business environment, internet connectivity, skills-based commercial activity, and the quality of life. Now, we know that there's several indices out there that use one or more of these variables either alone or in combination. Yet, few of these reviews actually try to assess which cities provide the best launching base for a potential international or global business. So, turning our attention to the various cities in the various regions, you'll see first of all that we have not indicated any cities, certainly in North America, and few cities in Western Europe and Central Europe. Those that we do highlight in Central Europe and in emerging Europe, if you will, are those whose markets have been traditionally underdeveloped, but which are growing very quickly. That includes Madrid and Barcelona in Spain, despite recent economic events. That includes Warsaw, Prague, and Budapest, which has been the traditional Visegrad belt for commercial activity in the last 10 years. And outside of that, of course, we see Seoul in East Asia. Turning our attention now to first tier, second tier, and third tier metropolitan areas. And these tiers are rated according to the scores that they received in our factor analysis. And you will see each of these tiers denoted by a different color: dark green, light green, and yellow. So, turning our attention now to the Asian region, we see that China and the Greater Chinese region has 3 of these top-tier metropolitan centers for international businesses looking to set up either a global headquarters or certainly a regional headquarters. And that includes Beijing, Shanghai, and Taipei, Taiwan. On the third tier, Shenzhen represents an important center and is very quickly developing, particularly in the area of financial services. Turning our attention now to the wider Asian environment, we see Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, and Manila as potential future regional centers, and of course not forgetting Jakarta, with Indonesia as one of the most populous countries in the world. Looking now at the subcontinent, we see New Delhi, Mumbai, certainly as second-tier metropolitan areas, and Bangalore, despite its IT center and its important geographical position in India. And the reason why the Indian cities have fared so poorly on our assessment is primarily due to infrastructure all across the country. So to the extent that the national government makes advances on infrastructure, we could see very rapid changes in these indicators. Looking at the Middle East, of course, Dubai represents an important center for commerce, continues to do so. However, we see in second-tier metropolitan areas like Cairo and Tel Aviv, of course, Istanbul always representing a very important link on the old Silk Road. In the Russian area, we see St. Petersburg and Moscow, which is of no surprise to anyone. And turning our attention to sub-Saharan Africa, despite the vastness of the continent, we still see the nexus central areas as Johannesburg, and to a much lesser extent Lagos and Nairobi. And of course, their third-tier status reflects, just as in the Indian case, significant lack of infrastructural investment. Turning our attention now to the Latin American region, and particularly South America, we see that South America has several very attractive potential metropolitan areas for locating a regional or global headquarters. Some of those cities include Santiago, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, and Rio de Janeiro on the second tier. Coming up on the third tier are cities such as Bogota and Caracas. This has been another Infographic Instant with Brian Michael.